Beowulf, a New Verse Translation, is an Anglo-Saxon epic by Seamus Heaney. Composed between the 7th and 10th centuries, the epic has long been accorded its place in literature, though its hold on our imagination has been less secure. The epic's outlines seem simplistic, depicting Beowulf's three major battles with the toughest brutes in art's entirety: Grendel, Grendel's mother, and then, 50 years later, a gold-hungry dragon who threatens the night sky with streamers of fire. Heaney effectively conveys his purpose by offering up stirring dialogue, action, and description, while sparing the epic's combustion of fate and fear. The main protagonist in the epic is Beowulf. Beowulf is a Geatish hero who fights the monsters Grendel, Grendel's mother, and an enormous fire-breathing dragon. Beowulf boasts about his encounters, which reveal him to be the strongest, most capable warrior around. In his youth, he personifies all of the best values of the heroic culture. In his old age, he proves a wise and effective ruler. The antagonists in the epic include Grendel, a demon descended from Cain, Grendel's mother, an unnamed swamp hag, and the mighty dragon, an ancient powerful serpent. Worthwhile literary elements in this epic include allusion and foreshadowing. Beowulf contains numerous biblical allusions. For example, the demoness Grendel is described as an offspring of Cain, a representation of all evil in mankind. Foreshadowing is seen instantaneously in the poem's opening. The funeral of Shieldshafson foreshadows Beowulf's funeral at the poem's end. King Hrothgar of Denmark, a descendant of the great King Shieldshafson, enjoys a prosperous and successful reign. He builds a great mead hall, called Heorot, where his warriors can gather to drink, receive gifts from their lord, and listen to stories sung by the Scops, or bards. But the jubilant noise from Heorot angers Grendel, a horrible demon who lives in the swamplands of Hrothgar's kingdom. Grendel terrorizes the Danes every night, killing them and defeating their efforts to fight back. The Danes suffer many years of fear, danger, and death at the hands of Grendel. Eventually, however, a young Geatish warrior named Beowulf hears of Hrothgar's plight. Inspired by the challenge, Beowulf sails to Denmark with a small company of men, determined to defeat Grendel. Hrothgar, who had once done a great favor for Beowulf's father, Ecgtheow, accepts Beowulf's offer to fight Grendel and holds a feast in the hero's honor. During the feast, an envious Dane named Unferth taunts Beowulf and accuses him of being unworthy of his reputation. Beowulf responds with a boastful description of some of his past accomplishments. His confidence cheers the Danish warriors, and the feast lasts merrily to midnight. At last, however, Grendel arrives. Beowulf fights him unarmed, proving himself stronger than the demon, who is terrified. As Grendel struggles to escape, Beowulf tears the monster's arm off. Overjoyed, Hrothgar showers Beowulf with gifts and treasure at a feast in his honor. Songs are sung in praise of Beowulf, and the celebration lasts late into the night. But another threat is approaching. Grendel's mother, a swamp hag who lives in a desolate lake, comes to Heorot, seeking revenge for her son's death. She murders Ashera, one of Hrothgar's most trusted assistants, before slinking away. To avenge Ashera's death, the company travels to the murky swamp, where Beowulf dives into the water and fights Grendel's mother in her underwater lair. He kills her with a sword forged for a giant, then, finding Grendel's corpse, decapitates it and brings the head as a prize to Hrothgar. The Danish countryside is now purged of its treacherous monsters. The Danes are again overjoyed, and Beowulf's fame spreads across the kingdom. Beowulf departs after a sorrowful goodbye to Hrothgar, who has treated him like a son. He returns to Geatland, where he and his men are reunited with their king and queen, Hygelac and Hyd, to whom Beowulf recounts his adventures in Denmark. Beowulf then hands over most of his treasure to Hygelac, who in return rewards him. In time, Hygelac is killed in a war against the Schilfings, and after Hygelac's son dies, Beowulf ascends to the throne of the Geats. He rules wisely for 50 years, bringing prosperity to Geatland. When Beowulf is an old man, however, a thief disturbs a barrow, where a great dragon lies guarding a hoard of treasure. Enraged, the dragon emerges from the barrow and begins unleashing fiery destruction upon the Geats. Sensing his own death approaching, Beowulf goes to fight the dragon. With the aid of Wiglaf, he succeeds in killing the beast, but at a heavy cost. The dragon bites Beowulf in the neck, and its fiery venom kills him moments after their encounter. The Geats fear that their enemies will attack them now that Beowulf is dead. According to Beowulf's wishes, they burn their departed king's body on a huge funeral pyre, and then bury him with a massive treasure in a barrow overlooking the sea. For the first quote, Beowulf utters this compressed statement of the heroic code after Grendel's mother kills Ashera, Hrothgar's trusted advisor. Though Hrothgar's grief seems understandable in light of the principle of loyalty that operates in this culture, Beowulf speaks of it as indulgence. Beowulf's reminder to Hrothgar that vengeance is the real warrior's response and the truest sign of love and loyalty reflects a fundamental value of warrior culture. The next quote emphasizes the importance of behavior in securing the respect and support of others. Because the warrior society so highly values its heroic code, it also highly esteems those who conform to the code's principles. Beowulf announces himself as a great warrior and backs up his words by defeating Grendel and is thus celebrated and received as a hero. These lines, which open the poem, establish the highly stylized nature of Seamus Heaney's translation and set forth some of the poem's central ideas. The opening lines also introduce a number of thematic ideas that prove important throughout the poem. The presentation of the ancestor Scyld Scefson as the model of heroism is representative of the poem's obsession with patriarchal history. Characters are often defined in terms of their fathers and ancestors. Seamus Heaney's translation is easy to read and brings the epic story of Beowulf into a form comfortable for the modern reader. I really did enjoy that he included a side-by-side copy of the original story in Old English so I could compare text. All in all, I would most definitely recommend this version of Beowulf.